All right, so good evening. You're watching Off the Court with me, Wenton Mavoro, and thank you for making time and joining me on your favorite basketball platform, the only show dedicated to discuss all things basketball without any filter or whatsoever. And I'm so excited after having taken a little bit of a break just to be able to catch up on a lot of things that were going on. As you may be aware, the Basketball Africa League qualification tournaments are currently going on. And from a Zambian context, of course, we are talking the basketball tournament that was hosted by Botswana, where our very own Monali Suns, the champions of Zambia, took part. And of course, we're not the only ones. We had our next door neighbor from Zimbabwe that were also taking part in the tournament. Brave Hearts again. Zambia's neighbors from Malawi were scheduled to take part in that tournament, but unfortunately couldn't. And of course, Dolphins and many other teams there were taking part, preparing for the Elite 16 qualification tournament, ultimately with a goal going to the Basketball Africa League, and that is Kigali. And this evening, what we are looking at is the Basketball Africa League, who benefits. And my guest is, I'll start with the one I know. Of course, they say the devil you know is better than the angel, but I'm not saying this man is the devil anyway. This is no other than Conrad Musonda, our very own household name in Zambian basketball, a man that needs no introduction. And of course, he's my favorite devil, if I know he was a devil anyway. And Conrad, thank you for making the time to come with me. Joining me on this particular show. And of course, I've got Coach Griffin Akalwa from Malawi, all the way from Malawi. And I believe you're joining me from Lilongwe right there. So we've got Lilongwe in the house joining me this evening to be able to converse on this important topic of the Basketball Africa League. And of course, with the special focus on who is benefiting, and we'll be discussing all things basketball. And another gentleman that is with us this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is the head coach for the Zimbabwe national team. And this is Kelvin Ben. He will be also providing his perspective on our conversation this evening. And as you can see on the screen, this is our panel. And remember, as the rule is on this particular program, you are at liberty to share your thoughts and comments. But most importantly, let us know where you're watching us from the continent of Africa and beyond. And if you have any question for these basketball gurus and experts, please don't shy away. You can ask anything you'd like to know. But I must make mention from the beginning that on this platform, we do not disrespect anybody. We discuss the game of basketball with the purpose of improving and developing it. So our conversations definitely must be done with utmost decorum. Having said that, gentlemen, let us kickstart the ball rolling. And Conrad, I'm going to start with you. As I earlier said, you are the devil I know here. So, yeah. So, Conrad, would like to find out. We are looking at, the Basketball League Africa, who benefits. But before we get into the gist of that conversation, first and foremost, just bring us up to speed. Monali Suns was in Botswana for the very first time in the history of the club, after working extremely hard in the years past, getting to that point, becoming the Zambian champions, and being able to go there, competing and showcasing what the team is capable of. Just bring us up to speed. How was the trip? Any key lessons that you picked up?
Thank you very much, and thanks for inviting me to this program. I should mention that I'm very privileged to have Kelvin and Griffin, who are my brothers. We're always talking, yeah. So in terms of preparation and in terms of where we are as Mnali Sand, I should make mention that for the last 3 years, I think I've never missed any ball qualifications. I'm always watching and I'm always learning from them. I haven't said that. There's a lot of things that we need to harmonize, should I say, in the sense that we need to make sure that our federation plays a very important part, our government plays a very important part to it, because it is not cheap to participate in the bow. It's not cheap. The road to
Mm,
bow, they call it. It's not cheap. We're talking of a good $30,000 out of your pocket, and we need to find a way that works for teams that are self-sponsored like my team. So a lot was lent. Okay, I can give you a classic example. When you there's that license fee that you pay when you get there. It doesn't
mm,
matter if you participate in a FIBA tournament prior to the Road to Bell. When you get to Road to Bell, you still have to pay that license fee, which I think for me is not right because you're paying for the same license number that they gave you in the beginning. Why should you pay again when you get to Bell? So all of those little small things that are hidden costs when you get there must be discussed, must be removed, and we had a lot of we had a lot of discussions with the committee, and I pleaded with them. I said, take each country with its own merit. Don't come to
mm,
Southern Africa and think everyone is like South Africa, everyone is like Nigeria, everyone is like Senegal. No, each country has its own problems. So when you
mhm,
get into the technical committee, have an open mind. I give classic examples. Your FIBA mappings. I think your FIBA mappings must be castigated to the lowest individual to be used. Why do I say that? Because our federations are being given that role to do all those transfers, yet they're not very complicated things to be done. It can be done by even an association further down than federation. I give an example: Midlands Basketball Association or Harare Basketball Association or the Longer Basketball Association must be able to start to upload all that information, upload all the teams on the FIBA map and map where they're seated because
mm.
it's really frustrating. You get to FIBA, you've paid all that money, and there's a delay. All of those things. There are a lot of things that we learned, and there's a lot of things that we need to harmonize as a regional zone six and as basketball in Africa. There's a lot of things that we need to harmonize.
Okay, Conrad, we will definitely get to you for more. But right now, let me just bring on Coach Griffin, who is with us this evening as well. Coach Griffin, we would like to understand. Bravehearts was one of the teams that was supposed to take part in the just ended qualifiers in Botswana, and the team unfortunately could not travel. And a lot of people had some questions. So, would like first of all to hear it from you. Uh, why didn't we see our Malawian outfit taking part in the tournament?
How are you? And thank you for giving me this opportunity. In short, we couldn't raise the money that we needed to travel. We had a sponsor that put out last minute, and it was difficult for us to organize ourselves to travel. But we really wanted to go, and we were training even at the eve of the day that the game started, because we still hoped that one way or the other we're gonna find a way, but we failed. We hope to try again next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one of the things that again would maybe like to understand. Obviously, there were financial challenges and everything, and Conrad raised something very important. That it's a stakeholder effort that is required for such an undertaking to be able to be successful. Give us a picture of what's happening in Malawi. To what extent is the government involved? To what extent is the association, the Malawi Basketball Association, involved in helping teams undertake this task?
Bravehearts, as a team, we've managed to participate in Basketball Africa League or FIBA Club Championships before. Honestly, we've never gotten any help from anywhere. So it has always been ourselves, funding ourselves. Only this time we had found a sponsor. Unfortunately, it didn't come through. But our association, maybe because of the policy of the Minister of Sports here in Malawi, most of the help go towards the national teams. They look at clubs as private, as individuals. Most clubs are owned by individuals. So to help an individual, what would qualify an individual to be helped by government? So they look at national team as per se because it encompasses everyone. So because of that policy, I don't think there's a way they can help. But our association, I believe they can do more. They usually help us with the clearance. They do the administrative work. But the most crucial thing when it comes to such tournaments like FIBA or NBA, Basketball Africa League, such tournaments, they require a lot of money. So the help that is needed for clubs is usually resources, which at the moment we haven't been helped before, but maybe in future they will. I think on that's what I can comment.
Okay, let me now bring in Coach Ben, who's joining us from, of course, representing the Zimbabwe national team. Coach Ben, we would like to hear from you as well with regards to what we've heard here. The gentleman explaining the financial implications at the moment of the Basketball Africa League and the huge responsibility that it poses, financially speaking, on these clubs. We would like to hear, first of all, your Zimbabwean perspective. We've gotten the Zambian perspective. We've gotten the Malawian perspective. Bring us up to speed with the Zimbabwean perspective.
Good evening. I don't know if let me start by asking if you have managed to share that link with viewers.
Yes, I have.
Because a lot of people have been asking me about the link here. I hope you have put it on the same Facebook page where.
Yeah, so to all those that are watching you right now, what they can do, they can go to Facebook, search for Wenson Mavoro, Twitter, Wenson Mavoro, YouTube, Wenson Mavoro. They'll be able to watch this interview live. But beside that, I've also shared the link with you privately so you can forward it on all your platforms as well. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Mavoro, for inviting me to this show. I don't know if I'm qualified at this point in time because my club hadn't qualified to play BAL for this year. I think the other two gentlemen have got all the right, but nonetheless, it's their party. I can get touch any day, anytime. I've got a lot of respect for the two gentlemen, very good friends of mine. If I remember very well, there is we actually have a group where the three of us are the only participants in that group. Having said that, and actually, thank you for inviting me to represent Zimbabwe to some extent on this show. My views for BAL are very, I'm scared to open up to what I feel about BAL, but I think the colonization of Africa continues. I'm not getting into politics at all. BAL is a program that has come not to enforce, not to empower us, but to enforce the same trajectory where the richer get rich and the poorer gets poor. Conrad just mentioned that it costs him, or it costs Munadi Sons plus or minus 30,000 to go to Botswana and participate in the knockout stages of a tournament. And at these knockout stages, there is virtually nobody funding the clubs. Even BAL does not fund the clubs. They say, to me, they are saying they cannot get involved financially to preliminary rounds because there's no money made there. So they are saying somebody should get involved into the preliminary round and spend their money, and then the best team qualify to go to a platform where also money is not given to the clubs, but money starts streaming in the last 16, if I'm not mistaken, or in the last 8, if I'm not mistaken. So for me, it's the same thing. We had a functional African tournament that probably didn't have money. And there is nobody who has come out with their hands open to say, this is how much money BAL is making. Because I understand and I know games are actually live on ESPN where there's pay-per-view. But clubs, small clubs like the Foxes, which I represent, or JBC for this matter, are struggling to even go to the first stage. And those clubs that made it into the first edition of BAL, into the last 16, they've got stronger than any other club. They've got financial muscle. When they pick up players, they pick up the best players. When it comes to Mona Lisa and JBC, um, um, Bravehearts of Malawi, they have to go and find those players that are not demanding so much money, that are probably willing to market themselves at this stage, qualifying stage, so that they can then qualify and be seen by better paying clubs in the last 16 and the last 8 of the tournament. I'm afraid I'll go on and on, but I just don't think BAL is doing much, and even FIBA is doing anything to develop the game in Africa.
Okay, interesting take there from Coach Kevin Ben. Conrad, I will come back to you again, and you raised something that I feel is quite pertinent, and I want to look at this both from a challenge and at the same time, uh, maybe you can weigh in on the sentiments that Calvin just shared. Coach Calvin. Uh, at the moment, BAL is looking at profit, but clearly, where we come from, the associations, the clubs themselves, are not yet structured in such a way that one maybe would say they would attract profit. I want to get it from you, Conrad. Zambia has taken part since this tournament, since the inaugural of the Basketball Africa League. And as a person that has first-hand experience, having gone there, do you think that the association is doing its part to be able to begin to, say, become marketable, raise profit, to be able to partly fund clubs that are financially struggling, as Kelvin put it?
I should mention that I share the same sentiments that Kelvin Baines has raised, and they are important. And I think I raised them in the technical meeting before we teared off, because I'm feeling the pinch of just traveling into a group stage and I drop $30,000. $30,000 can change a lot of things if I pump into my club again. But to talk about the organization part of it in terms of associations where we belong as clubs that are taking in basketball, number one, we need a lot from them. We need a lot. Countries that have invested in this BAL, your Rwanda, your South Africa, your Cape Town, your El Ali up there in Egypt, those are properly funded and they have got the muscle and the government chips in. In here, I'll speak about Zambia. When I went through to the Ministry of Sports and to the federation, the federation categorically told me we do not help anyone at the group stage. Now, if you do not help me at the group stage, where are you going to expect me to find money? If I go to a sponsor is telling me go through the federation. The federation should come to us. So it's quite difficult for us to raise money. It's quite difficult for us to take part in this BAL because you are paying so much money for a group stage. And if there was some incentive attached to it, it would have been much better. But there's no incentive attached to it. Trust me, I'm thinking to myself, I wasted money. I should have just stayed home. But because I am inquisitive and I wanted to know what BAL has, for now I could tell you nothing, because the teams that started earlier, that go to the last 8, last 16, are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. Cape Town, for example, you look at their roster. Look at Filavar. Look at their roster. Look at these guys from Uganda. Look at their roster. Those guys already got the money. Now, how do we as clubs that are coming into this at the first time, how do we propel ourselves to that level? It means a lot of investment has to go into it. And I think for myself, I did do a proper planning. It's just that I came short at the end of the day. But for me, we need a lot to be done. There's a lot to be done. You need incentives at the lower tier, not just at the last 16. So the bigger clubs that were there before are getting stronger, and they're getting more funding. Us that are just starting off, we need a huge amount of money injected into this game for us to get to the level we can compete. Competition should be leveled. That's what I think. I raised that point when we had our technical meeting, that take each country with its own merit, because there's no way you're expecting JBC with all its internal issues, and then they are just late by a few hours in terms of transfer. Then you tell them no, it cannot be transferred. When I walk out this meeting, the meeting is closed. There's no more transfer. Come on. If I'm talking to a person who's in America, I'm ahead by 9 hours. You, Asiba, can't come and tell me that I'll close this technical meeting when it closes today. That's the end of it. But I have paid you money that you want. I've paid you your 250 Swiss francs that you want. But because the other side is taking 5 days, and the time difference has not been considered, you cannot tell me that you're gonna reject that transfer. I've paid you. The money has left my account. So all of those things, FIBA need to look at it, NBA need to look at it, and they need to level the playing field. Our federations also have to bring the act together, because we will not go anywhere if they keep saying, no, this is a group stage, we can help you. The government has to step in as well. It's a lot that needs to be taken for us to move where the other teams are. I submit.
Thank you very much, Conrad, for that wonderful submission. Let me now bring in Coach Griffin Kalua, all the way from Malawi. Now, Coach Griffin, clearly the story about federations at the moment, not really thinking about becoming investment oriented or realizing. Do you think that your federation sees the opportunity that perhaps the Basketball Africa League offers for them to be able to help, as Conrad was saying, them seeing the best that they can do at the moment?
I wish I had not shared the links that you gave me. I could have spoken from my heart, but right now you're gonna get me expelled, eh? Okay. Anyway, the truth is, when we watch the football association, how they do their things, we admire them. They don't say this is group stage. They don't say this and that. They come. They really help the football clubs. Our basketball association, honestly, mostly they are just there because we need an association, and the help that they give us is something to do with clearance, which as we speak, I will need to write them, because I will need clearance for one of my teams to travel. So I don't want to seem like I don't appreciate, but they do their job. But maybe in terms of commercialization, that's where maybe we're lacking. We could do better, and also creativity to see. Okay, this is our national representative at Basketball Africa League. What can we do to help them achieve their dream to attending Basketball Africa League? Maybe they can come up with fundraising ideas to help the clubs. It doesn't have to necessarily be them releasing money, but ideas to show that they're with you. We don't really need much. We've already invested a lot. I know Conrad, I know Kelvin, and I know what they've done for the game, for their teams and for their countries. So it's not necessarily looking for money as per se, but ideas and showing up to say, we are behind you guys, we are supporting you, we want you to do well. And, just like the way the soccer federation do. Coming back to FIBA and NBA, at first when we heard about Basketball Africa League, we were all excited, like what Kelvin has said. We are together on another group where all the coaches are there, owners of the teams. We were very much excited. The Basketball Africa League is going to change our fortunes, but unfortunately, if the little ones are the ones that you're not helping, you're helping those that are already rich. I don't know how you can claim that you're helping the game. It doesn't make any sense, honestly. Like what Conrad said, 30,000. Maybe that he was even being modest because some of the expenses don't account for them, but it's more than $30,000. My budget was going towards $38,000. Because after planes from after flying from South Africa, we needed to hire a cost, a bus there from there to go to Botswana. So our cost was even higher than the 30,000. So it doesn't make any sense, honestly. If I can take that money, like what Conrad has said, and put it in my team, it can help me run the team for maybe 2 or 3 years. So it's ridiculous, honestly.
All right. You raised something quite interesting, Coach, as well. But let me go now to Coach Kelvin. Coach Kelvin, you also brought out a number of things, very, very important. But what I want to find out from you is, building on the submissions of Conrad and Griffin, in your opinion, yes, at the moment, as Conrad has rightly put it, it is very challenging for teams that are financially in the doldrums or financially struggling, okay, to be able to undertake this kind of tournaments. But isn't there an opportunity that you think the Zimbabwe Basketball Union should be able to capitalize on? For example, Conrad told us you have the Rwandan government that has invested in this thing. Shouldn't the Zimbabwe Basketball Union be lobbying the Zimbabwean government to say, get some stake in this thing? Because 5-7 years from now, it becomes a multi-billion-dollar industry. And at the moment, do you think that if basketball unions or countries are not investing in this, the story and the narrative will not change? Don't we have a responsibility on that part?
My biggest worry is that I'll have to speak politics. I'll have to talk about politics before, and for people to understand where you are trying to push us to go in the discussion. But nonetheless, let me explain it like this. For a government like Zimbabwe or Zambian government to get involved at the same level that Rwanda has put its basketball stakes at, they will probably need to build an arena that is around probably $20 million. And I don't see Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, or Mozambique doing any of that, because the benefits are not like immediate benefits. Like you say, probably about 7 years, probably BAL will be a very big organization with a lot of money, but I don't think there will be money for Africans in that in the whole setup, because BAL right now is being run from America. It's NBA that has come to run BAL via their sub office, which is a couple of Franco nations. And I've always been very critical, and I say it with conviction that FIBA is useless. You look at the counterparts in FIFA. FIFA has got a lot of grassroots development programs where they plow in money from the biggest leagues in soccer, and NBA runs a couple of programs in South Africa or once a year in Africa. And we don't benefit directly from the pay-per-view that we pay. Everybody watches NBA. We up early in the morning to watch NBA. And FIBA and NBA have not harnessed any money towards development of basketball, which is the actual clubs that are then coming to the play to the qualifying rounds. So, in a nutshell, I'll say as long as we've got FIBA running exactly how they're running today, Griffin will always have a $40,000 bill for him to go and qualify, because they will come and say there is no arena that we can use in Malawi. So we'll have to go to a country with a better arena. And they don't think about the club. I'll give you a perfect example. Last year, Fox is the club that I coach, qualified to play BAL. We were asked to travel to Madagascar for our qualifiers, and our total bill was around 63,000. BAL then called and said, "No, we will assist you with, we will subsidize your bill." And we were very happy, and they said they'll give us 8,000 US dollars. Or from 63, they were only going to give us 8,000. So we didn't go. We don't have the financial muscle to play this. So I say, as long as BAL has got the structure that they have now, it's probably for the 16 teams that qualified the first time, they'll continue playing each other. And once in a while, you might find one team that has got assistance from the government, but our governments have not yet realized that sport is a multi-billion-dollar industry. They still think a couple of guys can run a sport, and it is what it is.
Thank you very much, Coach Kelvin Ben. I'll now bring in Mr. Conrad just to be able to weigh in a little bit. And our comment section is getting a little bit busy at the moment. Ndenge Iliam is joining us. Good evening to you, Ndenge. Ephraim O'Neill is also with us. And Conrad, let me allow you to weigh in on Ephraim's thought in our comment section. Plus, you can also feel free to chip in based on what the other gentlemen have given us. Now, O'Neill here, Conrad, suggests that teams should deliberately develop a strategy, a long-term strategy. And when I mean long-term, it's not just maybe 5 years or so, but like Monale Suns at the moment, this year will be again in the championships with a view to win and qualify again. So O'Neill is suggesting that maybe teams should start looking for partners, sponsors, to be able to come on board at team level, creating those structures to be able to prepare for this, undertaking that is expected. Conrad, I'd like to get your thoughts on that, having experienced this. Is this something that is feasible?
We have to be very factual and introspect on ourselves, okay? Basketball I'll speak about Zambia, that I know very well. To come on board for sponsorship for a club level, it doesn't make economical sense for a company to power in that much money. Do you know why? Because of the numbers. If you look at soccer brings in the numbers. It's a game of numbers. Am I going to spend $20,000 sponsoring Mnandi Suns that has got, say, 15,000 followers on Facebook? Do we stream live? Yes, we do. Do we get comments? Yes, we do. Do we get exposure from that? Yes, you do. But if he gets 20,000 and then pumps it into Power Dynamos or Nkana Football Club, he's going to get what, 100,000? 20,000 likes? The fan base is bigger. It's very, very, very difficult for us, not if we do not have the certain principles in place. What am I saying? Do we have better basketball courts? Can our basketball courts attract thousands of numbers every week in, week out? Do we have the structures in our basketball associations? Do we have accountability? All of those things, if you look at the way football is being run in this country, the Football Association of Zambia has done very well with the help of CAF to make sure that structures are done at the grassroots. So, as to develop a marketing program, trust me, I'm good. I'm a marketer by profession. I can do that with my eyes closed. But do we have the numbers to support that? We do not have the numbers. That is why we're saying, look, let's have a delivery plan. I've approached Zambia National Tourism Board and I said, look, if Rwanda is saying visit Rwanda, why can't we say explore Zambia? Okay, I gave them numbers. They said, no, you know what, we'd rather brand at the airport in Gaborone than give you the money. All of those things, it's a question of numbers. Do we have the numbers? We don't have the numbers. And then to dwell in what Kelvin Benza said, if you look at soccer, our soccer here, our soccer budget in Zambia is approved by the parliament. Parliament sits down and approves that budget. Have we reached a stage of that in this country? No, we haven't. In terms of basketball, no, we haven't. Can we build a stadium of 20,000 capacity, 40,000 capacity just for basketball? No, it can't. Can we combine all the minority sports, they call them, to build a multi-facilities a stadium? No. Why? Numbers. Yet football, everywhere you go in the country, there's a pitch which everyone can use. What do we need? We need deliberate policies by the government, number one. Deliberate policies by the federation. What do I mean? If you say if the government can say, fine, if you support a minor sport, spend $1 million on that minor sport, we'll reduce your corporate tax by 2%. That way, companies will come on board because you know what? They're getting a benefit from the government. Now, if you do not have that willpower of the government coming to help you, or the federation lobbying these things, you can't have what we're looking for in Africa, especially Zambia, Malawi, and I think I even speak for Zimbabwe. But it's always a question of numbers. If I spend 1 million, am I going to get 2 million out of basketball? Can I sell my product? Can I do that budget with my eyes closed? But if a government says, go and sponsor basketball, you as a certain company, and I'll cut off from the corporate tax, I'll cut off 2% of it. Do you know how many people can run to that idea? Plenty of them. Plenty. Because they're getting a benefit from it. 2% of, say, KCM, that makes, hypothetically speaking, $6 million. No, $6 billion yearly. 2% of that, just 2% of that is given back to them. Do you think they would complain? They wouldn't complain. But all of those are policies that we need our fellow people to come in and say, look, can we do this? Can we do that for you? In return, as the companies, your corporate tax will be reduced, or your VAT, or your customs. All of those things are things that we can give. I'll give an example because I'm from the mobile telecom industry. When you lobby for a license, there's certain things that you lobby for and say, look, we're bringing a 5G network in the country. Can we import that equipment at zero tax? Because we're improving the lives of Zambians and coverage in Zambia. The government does that. We have that. Because we know that when 5G comes, everyone will benefit and they'll recoup their money over a period of time. But if you say, okay, fine, we will not give you that zero tax, what we'll tell you is that bring in that equipment, okay? From that equipment, 2% or 1% of the total cost of that equipment, throw it in basketball, throw it in volleyball, throw it in netball. They will come. All of them will come through. I submit.
Conrad, you raised quite a lot of points, but before I let you go, and obviously to all the associations that are watching us right now, talk about the Malawi Basketball Association, talk about the Zimbabwe Union or the Union of Basketball Zimbabwe. Sorry for butchering it, Kelvin, over there. But the most important thing is incentives. Okay, and this is something that for me really speaks volumes as to even for getting the Basketball Africa League itself, but just putting the house in order and creating this, incentivizing this sport to a point where it becomes commercial. This is something that federations, associations must really begin to plan in their long-term structures. But Conrad, and this one, I also want Kelvin for you to weigh in. But let me just throw this message on the screen at the moment for everyone to see. So Iliam, who's watching us, has posted this message right now, and he says the problem he has with the tournament is the money issue. Okay, the problem he has with the tournament is the money issue. So you have a situation where for example, he says Conrad mentioned 30,000 was the budget to be able to travel to Botswana to play. And yet, when you look at the prizes, the fourth in the bow will get 25,000 US dollar. Already, that's below the money required at a preliminary lower stage qualification tournament. The third gets 50,000, and the second gets 75,000, and the first gets 100,000 kwacha. So, even as we are talking about making money or benefiting financially from BAL, if these numbers are accurate, Rad, do you think then this is an investment that is worth it? Or possibly that 30,000, Conrad, if you raise it, you are better off pumping it in Monali Sons?
The right questions we should be asking is, what other endorsements come with this prize money that is there? Obviously, you get a lot of endorsements, you get a lot of attention from other corporate companies that will come on board. So apart from the monetary term that you receive at the end of the BAL, there's also another bigger picture that is there. What endorsements are going to come with you? And obviously, a lot of players that will be seen on that stage, they will get to go to other teams, bigger teams that are in Europe or America in the G League. So certain things come into play. Okay, we may look at it in terms of monetary terms, yes, but certain things will come into play, like endorsements, advertisement, all of those things come into play, and you walk out with a huge chunk of money. And because you are at that elite 16 and or elite 8, there's certain eyes are going to open that are going to pump money in your club, and you're going to make more money than that. So for me, is it worth it? At the group stage, it's too much, because we can get certain things right. What do I mean by that? Let me give you an example. If I went to Botswana, there is a $60 per player per day that you need to pay. Now, I wrote to the organizing committee. I said, look, that is too steep for me. I'll be paying over $1,000 every day for the days that I'm there. If I can get a nice, cheaper apartment and a nice place where I can eat from, I will forfeit that $60 and put it in my pocket, and I'll make sure that my team attends every game and they're there on time, they've eaten, and they're safe. They told me to write an email, and I wrote an email, and I assured them that I will make sure that my team is there. I had, from that $1,000 that I was supposed to be spending every day, I cut that budget to about $600 daily. That's 3 course meals, plus accommodation, plus water, and plus other expenses that come with it. So we need NBA and FIBA to, from group stage, say we'll book you, all of you that, like the way the referees are taken care of. The referees are taken care of far much better than the teams. They stay in 5-star hotels, 4-star hotels. They get paid this much money. They're looked after properly. Why can't you do the same with teams? If you don't want to look after us, negotiate proper rates for 5-star hotels. We can come in and we pay for ourselves. If I can negotiate further down, I can negotiate. Can you give us transport? Yes. Can you? You have all this Luanda Air that are around Zambia Airways, African Airways, all of those things with the NBA brand coming to it and say, this year Monali Sands is participating. We as NBA are behind Monali Sands. Zambia Airways, can you give us so much tickets? Who pay 3/4 of it? Those things can work. I had the privilege of speaking to a lady that is in charge of NBA communication and Road to Bar communications. She's been trying to make sure that the group stage also gets the same sponsorship deals that people in the late 16 have. But the only problem that she has is that our associations do not have structure and they do not respond properly. There's no government backing. In Africa, if you don't get a government backing, these things won't go anywhere. We can speak about incentives, you can speak about the brilliant marketing plan, but as long as there's no deliberate plan by the government to pump in money into this at the lower level, we're not going anywhere. The richer will get richer, the poor will get poorer. I submit.
Thank you very much, Conrad, for that submission. And as earlier indicated, before I come to Kelvin, our comment section is getting quite busy. And we've got Titus Mwila joining us. Good evening, Titus. We've got Tafuma Mudawarima joining us as well. Good evening. And all the way from YouTube platform, we've got Kuda, who's taking part, and Yele Jr., who are here as well, taking part in this conversation. We also acknowledge and thank you very much for your comments. And one of the things that, again, before I tap your brain over some of the important things that Conrad has submitted, Kelvin, we've got a suggestion here from Tafuma, who says we should make our leagues more professional and competitive. Is this the solution? Are you able to hear us, Coach Ben?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Tafuma says we should make our leagues professional, and for you to make
More
anything
competitive.
professional, there has to be an investment, and that who's going to make that investment for us to be able to be competitive? So in Africa, we've got a problem of bringing in a lot of big words when we should simplify things. We all talk about basketball development, but I'm gonna stream it down and throw away development. Development is a very big word, which we should shun or be scared of using. Let's call it preparation. It's a very good thing that we are all in the southern part of Africa, where we prepare sadza, which is called nsima in Zambia and in Malawi. For you to prepare that simple meal, you need a lot of ingredients. But I would ask somebody, what do you need for you to go and prepare that simplest meal? What is the first thing that you need? You need a budget to go and buy the kind of mealie meal that suits your pocket. So you already have a budget to buy the cheapest meal or cheapest mealie meal or the highest, the priciest mealie meal in that range. So for us to move from where we stand today, there has to be some investment that is made into the sport. And we have highlighted that our governments are not willing to do that. They're not giving corporates tax incentives to be able to come into our daily basketball running activities and pump in money. But when we go back to BAL, if I were to go to a sponsor today to say, please sponsor me to go to the first round of the qualifier, they're going to give me um, a branded kit. Say, for example, it's Spa or it's Pick and Pay. They'll give you a branded kit so that at least you carry their name into the tournament. But remember this, when you win the preliminary round, when you go to the next stage where most of the last 16, you are not allowed to wear a branded kit. It has to have BAL only. It's only last year they allowed player names onto the kit. They also didn't want player names on the kit because they own the whole thing. So even if you find a partner today who wants to partner you into getting into BAL, they're still not interested in making in partnering that guy who has actually spent money for you to come to the qualifying round. Then to add more on what Conrad has said, as I said, instead of saying development, let's call it preparation. What is FIBA doing to prepare countries like Malawi for the BAL tournament? They're doing nothing, absolutely nothing. Um, the teams that played into the Elite Eight have always played in the Elite Eight now because they've got a cushion over the smaller teams. And lastly, you when you talk about professionalism in a sport that is failing to have a Facebook page with 3,000 followers or with 1,000 people viewing one basketball match between Munali Sands and Machero Magic, it then means the people that follow basketball are not enough for anybody to come and market their product on the platform. And lastly, Zambia is the only country that I knew before Rwanda that had a basketball court that have got a complex that is only for basketball. We in Zimbabwe share the City Sports Center with the most elite of churches. They pay 10 times what we are able to pay for the Sunday that we play basketball. So we've been pushed, or our budgets have been strained. Like now, the league is about to start, and there is a big fight over affiliation, where a club is supposed to pay plus or minus 3,000 for them to be able to play basketball in the league. It's because the venue where we play it, there is competition there between clubs and churches, and you can't compete with deep pockets. So they offer more money, and it's a sporting facility, and our government gives them first preference because they pay money. Thank you.
Okay, interesting take there. As I go to Coach Griffin from Malawi, one of the things that I want to find out from you, Coach Griffin, is Jozi Nuggets Basketball Club, that is very much active in this conversation, has posted something that I've put on the screen. Says FIBA has got funds or foundation. FIBA Foundation has funds and resources, but national federations can't sign off the documents for clubs to get the funds. This is what Jozi Nuggets Basketball Club is contributing to this conversation. And another comment that is coming in from Josie is talking about the issue of elevating our leagues to a level of professionalism. I want to get it from you, Coach. What is really is there a plan? Because most of the things that Conrad raised, as valid as they are, to what account do we hold the Malawi Basketball Association with regards, do they have a strategy to be able to make the league professional? Are there such Coach, are you able to hear us?
Maybe I can take that.
Okay, Conrad, you can chip in as we try to work out the audio for Coach Griffin.
The biggest problem that you have is this same thing you're calling professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
Professionalism is a very, very heavy word to use in our basketball. I'll give an example. If you're going to say professionalism in soccer right now, everybody's being told that you need to have a contract, that contract is around this much, you need to have so much money, you need to deposit into an account. Now, three-quarters of the basketball clubs in Zambia, I'll speak about Zambia, are self-sponsored and they're community teams. Now, if you're going to come and tell me that I need to start paying my players a certain amount every month, and I make sure that I become professional in terms of structure and everything, it's impossible because that money is coming from my pocket. Okay, it's coming from the community. If I had a sponsor, yes, all of us can turn professional, all of us. But you need to understand that our players, first of all, need an education. After the education, they either want to come to play basketball, as a by the way, either they're not looking for a living in basketball. Because on the other side, they know that if I go and practice, the cost of living in Zambia is how much now? For me to get a proper, comfortable contract, I need to pay someone at least above 7,000 kwacha. 7,000 kwacha, I have 20 players. How much is that? That's the amount of money that I need to operate the whole year in 1 month. Where am I going to get that kind of money? What's the word professionalism? What are you talking about in terms of professionalism? I've got an account. All my players are in school. All my players are either in school or they are working. After I work, I demand for them to come to practice. Isn't that professionalism enough? Now, you want them to stop school, you want them to stop work, and then just now 100% sitting and under management where they can practice in the morning, they can practice in the evening. Number two, our infrastructure does not allow that. And I think Coach Ben has just said it. When you come to Zamshu there, you will find in Zamshu Court, there are 4 or 5 teams practicing at the same time. You've got Material Warriors, you've got Hawks, you've got Dolphins, you've got Chilanga Rollers in the same court. Do we have enough infrastructure to support this professionalism that you're talking about, that you're talking that we should do? No, we don't. If you say now, all of you go back to your respective communities where you practice from, Looters do not have where they practice from. Matero does not have where they practice from. They are practicing from Nasdaq at a certain particular time, where they're also sharing with volleyball. They're also sharing with the guys that do hockey, netball. We just don't have the infrastructure to support a professional league. Let's just face it. Once we tackle infrastructure, then we can tackle sponsorship and funds into the clubs. Then we can talk about professionalism. Right now, it is a by the way. But we try as much as we can for clubs in Zambia to at least have a structure. You know where to go. You've done this for the players. You lock them in a contract. You offer them school, you offer them a place to stay and work. And those things that we're offering also are coming off our pockets, mind you. We don't even get an incentive from the government that I am moving money to support these 25 boys who are taken to school, who are give jobs after the end of the day. I don't get an incentive from it. So there's a lot of things that goes into this professionalism that you guys are talking about. There's a lot that needs to go there, and you need to break down this professionalism that you're talking about. What is it? At what level can we go? Because you don't expect us. Obviously, every weekend, you know that, Wendy, that every weekend we have to go and plead. If there's a sport that is coming, if the big event that is at NASDAQ, we don't play basketball, do we? We don't. We sit. How can you run a professional league like that? We do not have the infrastructure to support a professional league, I submit.
Thank you very much, Conrad. Coach Griffin is back, and Coach Griffin would like to get your thoughts on this important subject.
It's very difficult to talk about the federation, like I had already said, but the truth is, our federations, they don't look at the game maybe the way passionate people like me, Conrad, and Kelvin are looking at the game. I just want to concur with Conrad from what he just said just a few minutes ago. The professionalism that Andile for Joe's Nuggets is talking about, I don't really understand, because as far as I'm concerned, our club, Brevers Basketball Club, we try our best, just like what Conrad said. We offer contracts, we send kids to school, we give them jobs, and we run the club to the best knowledge, the best knowledge we can. So we are professional enough. As for the federation, if they can help the league to become more professional, yes, it's very true. But we need government. Without government, I don't think there's anything that can work, because sponsors, for example, NBA, Midland Basketball Association, is in the central, it's in Lusaka and the surrounding districts. It's difficult for a brand like MTN to say we are only going to sponsor a certain location while it's a national network. So we still need, that's where maybe the federation comes in. That's why Conrad was saying, when we go to the federation to help us, they'll say we don't do at the group stage, blah, blah, blah. But most of the sponsors, they would want us to get our blessings from our federation, for them to do something, since the federation is the only one that is recognized by government most of the time. So it's a little bit tricky. Having said that, if the government cannot get involved, honestly, we cannot go anywhere. Rwanda to be where it is right now. Even their clubs are doing very well now. It took the government investment for those clubs to be where it is now. Actually, at the moment, they are still investing in the clubs. In Angola, the government was investing in the clubs. You look at Kenya, KPA, the government is investing in the clubs. We can mention different kinds of clubs that have gone far, where most of the money is coming from the government. It's not coming from individuals like the way we do. Without that, there's nothing that can be done. I'm reading a lot of comments on this issue, like from Josie Nuggets, but the bottom line is government must do something. If the will is coming from the government, even the sponsors come through, because government is leading by example. It's like when a president go to a fundraising event, almost everyone comes through. So if the government comes through, everyone will come through. I submit.
Okay, thank you very much for that submission. And talking about Dolphins Basketball Club, that Conrad you earlier referred to, we've got Coach Milken that is joining us. Initially, he was supposed to be with us from the beginning of this conversation, but unfortunately, he had to attend to other duties, as you can see from the way that he is dressed. So be rest assured, don't be scared of the uniform. You are all safe. We're here to talk basketball. Coach Milken, we welcome you and thank you for joining us. And with you quickly, I want to first of all just to understand. I know that this year we're having for the first time the women, the inaugural competition, BAL competition for women, and Dolphins Basketball Club, of course, in the history of the club and in the history of the inaugural Basketball Africa League for women, Dolphins has the opportunity to be able to take part. First of all, just speak to that milestone being a person that was representing a ladies team that has qualified for this?
Good evening. I hope you're able to get me. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be on this platform. Good evening, all the coaches that are there, Calvin Bain, Griffins, and Coach Conrad. It is sad and unfortunate that Dolphins Basketball Club is unable to participate. Reasons being that I'm hearing this from social media, and I only got to know about it about 3 days ago. The association, or rather the federation, did not reach out to my club. They decided to reach out to a different club that is a sponsored club. So I feel maybe they felt they are the ones that are able to run up and down. They are the ones that have the muscle to do it. But unfortunately for me, my team was not communicated to. After 3 days, that was yesterday. That's the only day that I had communication from the federation via an email saying that they were sorry for not communicating to me and not telling me about the same event, which is very sad. For me, I
So
feel
they
it's a
just said they were sorry.
blockage.
They just said they were
Exactly.
sorry, and that's it.
Exactly. In their email, they also stated to say that they only received the notification 14 days before. So I don't know. The veterans that have been there, the Conrad Griffins, maybe they'll maybe in a good line to give me exactly to say whether it's 14 days before the tournament that they inform clubs, or maybe there's a period of time that they inform clubs. So I don't have the experience when it comes to information when it comes, because I'm not privy to it. So this is the position, and this is what we have been told, and this is what they have written to us as a club to say they are sorry that we are missing out on a bigger stage, and they could not communicate with us because the information came to them late, and they didn't know that each country is supposed to have two clubs. Unfortunately, I only got to get about this from different countries that were asking me. Hence, I had to put a little bit of some pressure using, of course, social media and other people. Hence, they had to write back to me. But I wrote back to them today, and I said to say that it was not fair, because I felt as if I was undermined and I couldn't be given an opportunity to look for people or for sponsors. They don't know what my plan was. Of course, my plan, I know. I've been about the Conrad. I went along with him, and I saw what it is, and I saw what happened, and I had a different plan
Coach Milken,
altogether.
Coach Milken, maybe before you get into what possibly Bao could have meant for your team, uh, before I bring in Kelvin, Conrad and Coach Griffin, the two of you are here, okay? Just make all of us, including the viewers generally from the continent that are watching this conversation right now, even as we draw to a close, as we reach our conclusion, was it the same with you guys? Were you communicated late?
I may go
Because
first.
look, Conrad, I ask because we're dealing with the same federation here. Nothing has changed. We're dealing with the same federation here.
So let me say this. And I'll say it as bluntly, as honest as I can be. Across, I think, Southern Africa, there's this cartel that people have formed in these associations, not knowing that the most important position that we do not cherish as a federation, and we play around with a lot, is the SG's office. The SG's office has to be a person that is 150% dedicated, and the person that has got very, very upright communication skills, that disseminates information the minute they receive. 2, that office must have a proper communication channel and plan on how to do it. For me, if you tell me sorry, Milken, trust me, I would have slapped that person. because there's a lot of things that are involved. I'm just being as blunt as I can be, because that office is being, we're playing around with it too much. And this is the cry that also when you go to FIBA, Jews and them are complaining about your association SGs do not know how to communicate, are not responsive to whatever we ask them. So 90% of the communication is non-existent. So now let me tell you what you've asked me. Yes, I only got to know about the days of BAU for Botswana through a friend of mine that is another country. Before the SG officially wrote to me, I had known 4 days before that.
Wow.
So it is the same thing that I keep saying. That office needs to be respected. That office needs someone that is dedicated. That office needs someone that was a proper planner and a good communicator. I submit.
Thank you very much, Conrad. Before I get back to you, Coach Milken, Coach Griffin, tell us from your account.
No, there was no such thing. We were communicated on time. Our GS is actually the only functioning office that we appreciate very much in our country. So he does very well in terms of communication for BAU. We are the ones that failed. It had nothing to do with him. They communicated on time.
I hope you are not saying this because you are afraid of the GS pulling moves on your club, Coach Griffin.
Actually, on our roster, last time when we went for Basketball Africa League in Dar es Salaam, we went with the same GS. And this time around, we're going with the same, and it was very helpful. He was on time. Even at night, sometimes you would get communication from BAU. He would communicate even 11 p.m. He would call me. He was very helpful, honestly.
Okay, thank you very much. Kelvin, before I come to you, allow me, because you see, I mean, I'm just failing to wrap my head around, you know, how the whole system functions, because at the end of the day, clearly what I'm seeing here is that we're being enemies of ourselves, you know, not to disdain anybody, but we're being enemies of ourselves. And if we're not going to massage each other, but call a spade, really, these clubs, Munali Suns, Bravehearts, and all these clubs, truly, if at all they are going to be able to surf through this difficult tide, especially at the group stages. I mean, if the federation can behave like this, it's like these teams are orphan children. But anyway, that's not in my place to say. But Coach Milken, let me bring you back. Let me bring you back. I mean, look, for me, this is history, okay? This is history. For Dolphins Basketball Club, for Zambia having an opportunity to be able to participate in the first Basketball League, Basketball Africa League Feminine Division. It's history. It is something that we can be proud of. You tell me what, because clearly you've been robbed here. So how has this affected your team, your players who worked hard to be where you are right now?
Well, it is funny that the players, they themselves, they actually think maybe I was the one who was not pushing and was not in a proper financial capacity kind of scenario to happen to push for it. But trust me, with the period of time that is given for any other team, like Griffins are saying, to say the message, or rather the information, was disseminated right time, and they themselves, they're the ones that did not make it. So let the club itself fail to make it, and then there no one is going to put any fingers. But in my situation is, I am the one who started the noise. Hence, I'm written from today, like 2 days before, 2 days ago. So had I not said anything on any platforms, because I was asking from the coaches platforms to say how many teams are supposed to go, because other countries are sending 2 teams. And some were laughing, some they knew the answer, some were giving me answers, but then it was already too late. They cannot say apologies for a lost opportunity for the club and also for the federation. If really they are saying apologies for losing that slot as a federation, I see no reason why it was concealed or it was sat on. So for me, in conclusion, I just wanted to say, because I'm an individual and they gauged me without knowing, sometimes the stone that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. So you can never know what can happen. Let's see how it goes. You don't know what's going to happen if we are going to have representation or we're not going to have representation. Let's see how it's going. We've got a few days to go. All they told me the first day was when I queried to say, no, we received this 10 days ago. In the letter that they wrote to me, or in the mail that they wrote to me, they said 14 days ago. I have those proofs to that effect. I'm a detective, so I know what I'm talking about. So I talk with proof and facts.
spoken like a true detective. But anyway, let me bring in Coach Kelvin. Before, gentlemen, I ask you to wrap up. I know that we've got busy days tomorrow, so I don't want to keep you longer than necessary here. But of course, we will create another time where we can reflect on this and continue conversing around the game of basketball. But Coach Kelvin, we would like to understand, based on what you've heard here. I mean, you made you built a strong case in the beginning of this conversation about really how the scale of benefits does not tilt towards Africa and our individual countries and basketball clubs altogether. But if our federation honestly can fail, at least if you can't write an email, you can buy bundles and send a WhatsApp and say, hey, the rest is history, start preparing, you are going. If our federations are failing to do even basic things, if Conrad has to cross borders just to get information that his team that deservedly so qualified for this opportunity can indeed begin preparing, don't you think already there's a problem there?
I want to say.
By the way,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to find out if JBC was told on time, but I know you're not from JBC, so I'll spare you on that one.
I want to. I'll say. I think they got a little bit of time on the dates. I think the dates were then changed, were moved to later dates, but I think they got ample time to prepare. I happen to have no boundaries when it comes to international basketball. I, in a way, was talking and getting to know the preparations from JBC. So I think they're also given a little bit of more time, but it might not have been through the association because the JBC owner and head coach is on the FIBA Commission's channel. So he probably got the information. But I want to say I'm very sorry to my brother from Botswana, a very good friend of mine also. We live to tell these stories, and they are funny. We laugh when we talk about the things that our associations put us through. But I want to blame FIBA straight off. I'll cut a little bit of slack on the association. In this day and age, we have to wait for dates through SGs and associations. It's very lame. There are there are applications that we can download on our phones where they should just upload the information before even the official communication comes through. We should have these dates, and Conrad and Griffin can start preparing along those timelines. If they're going to be moved, they're going to be moved by a week. It doesn't kill, and it's usually a later week, never an earlier week. when you look at how our SGs behave in the office, I'll be very honest and I'll be straightforward. I'm not in good books with our SG in Zimbabwe. We I don't care. I've told her what I think. If, like Conrad said, if it happened to have been a man in that office, I would have slept there. But it's fortunate that it's unfortunate actually to me, because you can't sleep a lady. If it was a man in that team, if it was Gipping, you probably won't have his front teeth. I would have fought him very hard a lot of times. The way they are given too much info, I mean too much power. It's like they own basketball. Yet all they have to do is forward what is coming into their office. All they have to do is communicate to us and tell us what needs to be done and what we don't need to do. Away from associations, because I'm very scared of what I will say. I'm not scared of the people. I'm very scared of what I'll say. I don't like how our SGs, particularly in Southern Africa, we had a big fight with the SG in Zambia. Conrad, what's his name? I forget. I always forget his name. With their SG,
Roderick.
when they, what's his name? Yes,
Roderick.
Roderick. Thank you. Where they yes, where they let us bring players from Zambia to play in Zimbabwe. And when the players were in Zimbabwe, they did not clear the players. So clubs spent money to take players from Zambia to come all the way to Zimbabwe and train probably for a week, or if not more, with clubs to play in the final tournament of the season, which were the BAO qualifiers. And then they denied clearing the players, saying they're not going to clear players to play in weekend tournament. And I got so hurt. If you go to the Zambia, I think it's Zambia 101. I went and wrote there and I said, basketball administrators, particularly in Zambia, should be exactly where their basketball is. And it's unfortunate I was dragging now Conrad into the mix, but I'm not scared of Conrad. I know he knows. I mean very well. Where I'm saying your teams have been losing by 40 points on the international scene, yet you think you are so powerful that you deny players to play where they're supposed to be playing. There's freedom of association in the world, and they're not allowing players that have traveled already. People have spent money to bring players in. The players have left their ordinary lives to come in and play, and they're probably going to make a couple of bucks from playing, participating in the tournament. And then somebody who thinks his pen is mighty does not clear players. And the same people have had players in their league coming from other countries, and their basketball is actually competitive because they've got a multi national players in their league. So these that we call basketball administrators are getting so much power that they don't deserve. They're getting so much power that they don't even actually have. But because FIFA has put a structure that does not work, where somebody sits on information for a long time and then chooses who is going to play. Instead, we all always know the team that finished first in the national league is the one that goes to participate at BAO. But there you got it in Botswana, not even Zambia and Zimbabwe. There you get it in Botswana. They were not told. Another team was given the spot.
All right, thank you very much there, Coach Kelvin, for those interesting remarks. Unfortunately, we have to conclude. And as we get to conclude, I will start with you, Conrad, just to be able to make your final submission to our conversation.
Okay. I've learned a lot. The experiences across Southern Africa are the same. Okay, but we still need to narrow down to country specific. And if you want to develop this basketball, we need to now start copying each other's strategies. Why am I saying so? The biggest pinpoint that we have in Southern Africa, like Kelvin just said, is issue of transfers. I learned that on that FIBA mapping, you can narrow down to clubs that put in their names there and everything happens there and all the transfers are seamlessly. I don't need to call a GS for 24 times to get an official transfer. So we have a lot we need to do in Southern Africa. Number one, let's harmonize the playing field. Let's get the technical aspect going. Let's get office bearers more, let's hold them more accountable. And they need to be more objective. We need, like in Zambia, I have been fighting with us, the Federation. I asked them simple questions. What is your 3-year plan? What is your 5-year plan? What are the pillars of those 3-year plans or 5-year plans that you have? Okay, we want to come and say, you told us that you're going to improve infrastructure in this country as a president. Where is it? You told us that in your strategic plan, you told us that you want to have 10 FIBA qualified referees in this country in your tenure. Where are they? You told us we're going to host so many international tournaments in a year. Where are they? You told us you're going to clean up this whole transfer sagas. Let the powers go to clubs. Let the money trickle down to club. Where the equipment? All of those things, we need to make sure that we hold our office bearers accountable. We need also for our clubs to be also hold your own head high and make sure that you are ready for whatever opportunity comes your way. In terms of the BAU, it is expensive, yes, but we need everyone on the table. We need the government on the table. We need the federation on the table. We need NBA now to start thinking of how they're going to incentivize the group stages. It is so expensive that in the long run, we will now start shunning away from that. And you do not want us to start shunning away from that. We shun away from that. We will only create our own now. We will create our own tournaments that we want to go to. So there's a lot that we need to harmonize amongst all the Southern African teams. Let me just say, Zone 6, we need to clean up. And these things of just considering office bearers and people that have got the brains, it is unfortunate that those guys just hold positions. Us with the brains are seated down here. That is my final submission.
Before I let you go, Conrad, you mentioned something very, very important. The issue of shunning. I had a conversation with somebody who said, maybe it's high time we go back to the, remember the Zone 6 championships? Or maybe we can start exploring how we can make that not only competitive, but also lucrative and cheaper to be able to take part in. Your last thoughts on that?
It's funny enough, the team from Namibia, we had this discussion, I think, with JBC. Remember, there used to be a tournament called Naboza. Kelvin Benz, you remember this? You are old enough.
Zinabosa, yeah. I do.
Forgive Griffin was in diapers by then, but you remember that.
I've never heard of that.
You see? So we talked about those tournaments. They were lucrative, they were very simple, not complicated, and we copy that and bring that back. Zone 6 also had its own challenges. Zone 6, the fees again were a problem. And Zone 6 committee always waiting just to have the money in their hands, not able to give incentives. They're always waiting for money to come their way. They also became greedy. That is why that thing died. If NBA get greedy, we will shun this away.
All right, thank you very much. Coach Griffin, let me bring you on. Your closing remarks?
To the question for this session, who benefits from Basketball Africa League? Certainly not us. At the moment, as you have heard from owners of the teams, we are coaches, but we also own these teams. So it means we are not the ones that are benefiting from this. So who benefits? Maybe those that get allowances at FIBA, maybe NBA, because NBA the brand is still getting strong with us playing and spending 40,000 k, 40k for a tournament. So we are not benefiting at the moment, and it's high time we looked at having regional tournaments, because having someone from America coming to save us, definitely uh, their reasons are well known to themselves. So at the moment, unless if they say, let's pick up the little ones in the group stages and let's empower them so they can compete against the best, like the way they do in NBA. They can't. They restrict transfers because they don't want to kill the other teams. Everyone is given a fair chance. So the same thing should happen even in the basketball league. I don't understand how where they're getting these ideas from. Because at the group stage, that's where we need their help the most. So if they can't do that, it won't take much time before people stop going. I think I should just end here.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach Griffin. And let me bring on Coach Kelvin there just to bring in his closing remarks.
In closing, I think we should sit down, like Conrad said, and start thinking about a league that benefits clubs. He speaks about Zinabosa. Zinabosa is simple and straightforward. It was Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, and Namibia. They come together and formed a league. And fortunately, the two gentlemen are actually guilty, as they are part of a Zone 6 league that was on the cards, and failed to negotiate their way past FIBA to start this league, which could have been beneficial, more beneficial than BAL. So in closing, I just think we it has come to a point where club owners, and I don't like it when somebody says or is in the situation that the three of us are in, where you own the club and you coach the club. It becomes it's a huge burden on one person. You're not accountable to anybody. Conrad just came from Botswana, where he's telling us that he probably spent 30,000, and he might have spent more, and he doesn't want to say the actual amount because the wife will kill him if they know that he spent more than that, because that's what he told the wife. Um, so as long as
You're very right.
accountability is not on the main agenda of club sponsorship and preparation, then we just digging, and we our clubs will be defunct in the next 5 years when we decide we cannot do it anymore. So I think the structures of the clubs are the first point of call. It's difficult to find um, sponsorship or partnerships, but at the same time, probably let's find friends or associates that share the same vision and might actually not put more money in the club than you are putting right now, but just give in technical advice, be it financially, marketing wise, or actually in the coaching of the club. So we need to start thinking outside the box if our clubs are going to survive. Otherwise, our clubs will last our lifetime, and then the kids coming, being born now, will have to start their own clubs, and will never have continuity in basketball. Clubs are the biggest and strongest facet of basketball. There is no FIBA basketball without club basketball. There is no national team without club basketball. Um, we need to structure our clubs and structure our associations in such a way that the mafia, the cartel that controls basketball now, I'll say it, I'm not scared to say it. There is the Franco Nation cartel that controls basketball. If you want to find out, it's easy to find out it's there. Look at where basketball tournaments or meetings are held. It's in the Franco Nation. Right now, the ladies BAO qualifiers are being held in Angola. Angola is the most difficult and expensive country to host a tournament in. Angola and Mozambique, the two of them. But the tournaments are always held in those two countries. And those two countries have done so well in basketball that they're actually professional teams, and they should be able to easily travel into Zambia or into Botswana for the qualifiers. But you kill the rest of the region and send the tournaments to the elite. So, like right now, I'm told, and I saw Andile from Josie Nuggets writing about it, that the only teams that have confirmed participation in Angola are Angolan teams and Mozambican teams. Everybody else will say they want to travel there, but the budget does not allow us to travel there. So until such a time we sit down and shun the mafia type of leadership that we have in basketball and try and put professionals in those offices, we're going to be here speaking until it's 20 past 10 and even past midnight, and we'll still be here.
So the mafia that you're talking about, is it at continental level?
It is, to me, it is at continental level. It comes down, it easily disseminates into our own leagues. I think it's actually at international level, because FIBA is run from France, and everything goes first to the Franco nations, to Mozambique, Angola, and them, before it comes to everybody else.
All right, thank you
And
very
we can
much,
prove
Coach.
this. I'm not
Kelvin.
just casting aspersions. Thank you.
Okay, Coach Kelvin. Right now, I'll bring in Coach Milken just to be able to give his final submission. Unfortunately, Coach Milken, we have to close. I know that you're attending to many other issues, but we will definitely create time for you so that we can converse at length. But looking at what we touched on earlier, your situation and everything, I would just like you to give your final remarks to our viewers.
Oh, okay. I think for now I don't have much to say. All I can say is like we just have to build one spirit, one direction, and we really have to see to it that everything is built within our family. We will win in that direction. Then if we start this separation of powers, then it means we're not going to go anywhere. So all I'm pleading for is to have one word, one dream. That's all.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach Milken, for joining us this evening. And for those of you that are joining us right now, you are watching Off the Court with me, Wenton Mavura, and my guests this evening have been Conrad Musonda from Monali Suns Basketball Club, coach, and of course in the management, not so much coaching anymore, but a man who loves basketball and passionate about the sport. And Conrad, thank you very much for giving us the wisdom that you've shared. You know, many other times we talk about how we can incentivize and make the game more lucrative, and yet we've got people that actually are in a position to do that. So we really appreciate your valuable contribution. Coach Kelvin Ben, equally, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Right now, we can't see you. We hope Zesa hasn't played a number on you from Zimbabwe over there.
That's a good one.
Yeah, so anyway, thank you very much. And we appreciate your valuable insights. You know, your honesty, your candor on this particular platform is something that we really appreciate. If at all we're going to make progress, I think we need to have conversations and call a spade as it is. As Conrad set the tone for this discussion, calling a spade is what we need. There's nothing personal, but just looking at the issues and what can be done possibly. And of course, Coach Griffin, all the way from Malawi, even from the comment section, you know, I had people saying they've never seen a man as passionate as this one for the game of basketball. So all we can say is that for now, Malawi is in safe hands, and we appreciate your time, your commitment, and your efforts, even on short notice, to be able to come and be part and parcel of this conversation. In case you didn't know, by the way, the person that gave me an idea to bring you on board is that man Conrad, who's right there. Is the one who said, no, 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 give this guy a chance. Let him say something as well.
That's
You
my
know,
brother.
so
But Conrad,
yeah,
Conrad moves
so
around.
you've got so you've got
Sorry,
you've
sorry,
got brothers that care for
sorry.
you. You've got elder brothers that care for you, eh?
Yeah, he knows
Sorry,
everyone.
I don't trust Griffin. Sorry, I don't trust Griffin. He pays people. I think the guy who was writing a lot of stuff in the thing. I think he probably paid him. He probably paid.
He
I saw
paid
those
him.
chats and I was like, yeah. I was like, this man. I mean,
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. And of course, Coach Milken from Dolphins Basketball Club. I know you're extremely tired. You're coming from very involving national duties, but you still just couldn't stay away. Under normal circumstances, gentlemen, this man here could have said, you know what, I'm attending to something very important, very big. I'm unable to make it, but he still, you know, had to make time, even without, you know, really having time to change and take off the uniform and everything. He just decided to come through and take part in this conversation, whose purpose is to, in fact, build the game of basketball and discuss some of the issues that need to be worked on and addressed for us to be able to make that progress. Coach Milken, we really, really appreciate you. Of course, we sympathize with Dolphins. We hope a miracle can happen at the moment for money to come through. Maybe you need to have a meeting with Conrad and see what magic he did to be able to get the 30 grand so that you can fly into Angola and be able to take part.
I know what he did. You have forgotten that I'm sons.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah, you see now.
Bye.
So thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming through. The name is Wenson Mavoro. And of course, tonight we're looking at how we can improve the game of basketball on the African continent, but asking the pertinent question involving the Basketball Africa League that, in case you never knew, has the potential to take over basketball completely on the continent. Hence the motivation to be able to talk and strategically see how we can position ourselves to be able, as countries, individual federations, and see how we can be able to prepare and just see how we can get a piece of this pie, even as it's cooking in the oven, even as it's simmering and getting ready. So basically, that is why we're having this conversation. We do appreciate this initiative of the NBA coming to Africa, but of course, the pertinent question is, there are some glitches, nitty-gritty issues that must be sorted for us to be able to create a level playing field that will not only grow the NBA brand in Africa, but also allow African basketball to grow with the NBA brand in Africa. And that is the biggest motivation that we have. The name is Wenson Mavoro once again. Enjoy the rest of your evening. See you next week as we will be talking basketball again on Off the Court.